Bon dia, Eva Corja. Hello, everyone. Eimear Burke here. Welcome to another Fireside Chat. This is Fireside Chat 109, where I'm in conversation with a member of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. So I will just start, as I usually do, with a prayer for peace. Gomara Shiacon or Fudna Crinia. Gomara Shiacon in our Jaili agus in our Jirha. Gonairi Lin, Lenar Kuj Garamaka. Gamij Buichas Jeev, Jea Chufdaka, a Spirit Chufdaka. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities, for peace. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For all those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So it's lovely to see you all, and we're from Appalachia, Ohio, Portugal, Finland, we're at Atlanta, Georgia, never-ending snowy Utah. Well, we've had some hail today and sunshine, lots of rain and not so cold. So very mixed weather. Penzance, Cornwall, lovely. Sweden, Washington, Suffolk, London, Northern Arapaho, Eastern Shoshone Territory, Wyoming, Bavaria. Wonderful to see you all. And Banachti Konok Danari Jivshe, the blessings of the spring equinox to you. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, blessings of the autumn equinox. So let me see where everybody is. The Hill of Ishnock. You're in the car park of the Hill of Ishnock, Sean. That's lovely. Northamptonshire, Richmond, Virginia, Prince Edward Island in Canada. Greetings from a tiny hamlet in West Dorset in the middle of nowhere. That's wonderful. You're very, very welcome, Ernie. Norfolk Island, hi, Linda. North Carolina, Switzerland, wonderful Stratford-upon-Avon. India, oh my goodness, wow. That's far away. So Kinsale, mixed weather in Finland, lovely to see that. Herefordshire, California, Northern New York State. Oh, Mohawk Indian Reserve, wow. Wonderful. Scotland, great. Say, wonderful to see you. Lashing Rain, that's in London. Hi, Ferdia. So we are going to Canada today. Let me introduce you to my guest. It's Olivia Statler. So Olivia, you're in Toronto, yes?
Yes, I am indeed.
So just tell us a little bit about your landscape and what Toronto's like.
All right. If you do the first slide.
Okay.
There is. Oh, that's.
Okay. Tell me where to press the next one.
Yeah, the next one's good.
Okay.
Thanks. So yeah, a lot of times when people think about Toronto, they think about, the big urban sprawl and an awful lot of concrete. But there's another truth about Toronto as well, which is the next slide.
Yes.
Has one of the largest ravine systems. It actually, of the whole world, it has the largest ravine system of any city. And so it's been dubbed a city within a park. So yeah, there's the concrete jungle downtown, but there's a lot of places to hike and to be in nature and to experience a lot of wildlife, which is just amazing, because at the beginning of the pandemic, me and my partner were looking for to move out of the city. And one thing that we were noticing when we were looking for another house was that we could get a lot more house for less money, but there was actually not a lot of green spaces to walk. Like we would have had to drive to conservation areas. And,
Okay.
I would have really, really missed just being able to walk out the door and, 10 minutes on my feet and I'm down to this Humber River where we canoe. And this lovely big tree is also in the ravine system near where I grew up and is my guardian tree.
Beautiful.
But yeah, as I cycle and canoe and walk around all these beautiful ravines, I notice sometimes that there's trees bent. And I wonder if they were bent purposely by perhaps the Mississaugas peoples or the Huron-Wendat or, the Chippewas or the Anishinaabe people. And this is part of their old mapping system. But the reason why we have all these lovely ravine forests and parks still is actually because of Hurricane Hazel, which was a deadly like we don't get hurricanes here.
Okay.
But for some reason there was a tropical storm and it picked up speed over the Great Lakes again, and it totally walloped an unprepared Toronto and flooded all these spaces. And they had started to build up in the ravines and all of that was lost. So they've just never done it again. So,
Okay.
So
Ben Stimson, who was my guest last week, hello from Kitchener. I used to attend Humber College and loved the Humber River trails. Okay. So what creates the ravines? Is that left over from the Ice Age or what?
Yeah, I looked it up on Wikipedia actually, and it was like 12,000 years ago, the end of the last glacial period, it just sort of carved them up.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So this is your tree. Are there, given that all land is sacred, are there special places around where you are that, as a Druid you go to, or that are ancient sites of sacredness, or that are known to be ancient sites or sacred sites?
I don't really know of any around me immediately, but places in the city have become sacred to me, like personally. Like there's a lovely park that's really nearby called High Park. And a lot of my pagan friends will use the labyrinth there. And there's like really good energy in that spot. And you can see that people have made it like a sacred site because they hang, different things in the trees. And I mean, I've painted stones with sacred symbols to me and left them on stones around my forest where my guardian tree is.
Okay.
So some people have you heard of geomancy? It's like sometimes people will steal my rocks and use them as markers. And I'm like, where did my rock go? And then I'll find it somewhere, and they've used it as a marker for other people.
Okay. Yes. So somebody asked, doesn't Toronto have an amazing park?
Yes, has amazing parks, many of them.
Plural. Okay.
Yeah, there's the High Park one that I was just talking about was modeled after Central Park.
Oh, okay.
People wanted, I think when they were constructing Toronto, wanted it to be like a twin city to New York.
And is it?
I think that anybody that's actually been to New York would laugh at our Dundas Square being anything like their Central Square, because it's not the same. It definitely doesn't have the same buzz about it.
Yeah. I suppose a much toned down, smaller version, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we are a big city, but the energy contrast with somewhere like New York is very different. Like there's so many more people in New York City.
Yeah. So what So you're Canadian, living in Canada. What brought you to Druidry, or how did you discover it?
That's kind of a long, meandering tale.
Okay, well, we have some time.
We have some time. Well, I think that I was born pagan.
Okay.
I always had like a connection with the moon, and I would sneak out of the house at night to go to the park to look at the stars. When, going decades back here, when there were stars in Toronto.
Okay. Before the lights removed them. Yeah.
Before all the ambient light removed them. And, I would try to make my own tea out of natural things. That probably was one of the things I did deserve a beating for, because I could have killed myself. But yeah, I grew up in a super fundy evangelical home.
Okay.
I was adopted into. And so, yeah, my mom would call me a heathen, and you're a bloody heathen, come away from there. When I'd be like looking at the tarot cards in bookstores and stuff like that. So it was my mom's position that she had to beat the devil out of me.
She failed, obviously.
she failed miserably. So yeah, there was not anything really allowed in our house. Like dancing was evil, music was evil, TV, movies, all of that stuff. We weren't quite like West Baptist Borough Church, but it was pretty fundy. The only thing I wasn't really blocked from was reading.
Okay.
And so being adopted, I was trying to figure out, where I fit, where I belong, because I didn't feel like I belonged in this family. So I read like myths from all over the world, and I fell in love. I fell in love with them, and, I wanted to be a writer, and from a very young age. And obviously I wasn't successful. I tried to write my first book when I was 4. I was really ambitious. I took a stack of papers down with me. Where are you going? I'm writing my first book. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So yeah, when I would go to church, I would feel nothing. And I started to feel like there was something wrong with me. Like being adopted, I figured, my first family said, no, thank you. And I wasn't fitting into this family. And so I tried really hard, like every time they would like do a call to prayer, you want to ask Jesus into your heart. I'm like, please let me feel something, and I never felt anything at all. So I felt like I was being rejected.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it felt like I wasn't good enough. And so I met my birth mother, I guess when I was 19. And she has like gypsy background and followed like the old ways. And she said that she had prayed her guardian spirits to be around me and to keep me safe. Now, wow. I flipped out, like, because I was raised with all these funny beliefs. And then I was like, that's what's wrong. You've cursed me, you've cut me off, and now I can't belong anywhere. And so like I kind of flipped out, and like it was not in a good place, and I thought, oh, there's all this darkness around me. Then so I didn't take that as a kindness, which, I probably should have, but I didn't, because I still had like a lot of fundy beliefs.
It's very hard to, I grew up as a Roman Catholic, so it took me a long time to get used to the word pagan. Yeah. But that when that's been so strong in your upbringing, it takes a long time to shed it. That even though you might be doing things, but it's still there at the back of your head, it can take a long time to get that out. So I can appreciate your horror at your birth mother doing that. And yet, I imagine if you were in similar circumstances, you'd have been sending guardians to protect your child.
Yeah, I'm sure I would have. I probably wouldn't have expected that, response either when I told them that it was.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was living on and off the street because I couldn't take the violence at home. So I had met someone, and he was living with his mom, and they invited me to like stay with them. So I was staying there, and his mom had gotten back into church, and so it was really funny because at first, when I first met her, she wasn't into church, and then she joined like this church where there was a revival going on, and she started like playing all this music, and it was pissing me off. Like, I'm like, what is this brainwashing crap, right? And so this must have looked really, really weird to my friends on the outside looking in, because I'm like mad at this,
Mhm.
getting fed up with all the brainwashing Christian music. And then at the same time, I meet my birth mother. She tells me this stuff, and then I flip out. And then I'm like, please, please take me to church with you. And so I go to church with her, and it like this revival church is like completely miles and miles away from the church that I grew up with.
Okay.
Like, people are dancing in the aisles. There's
Wow. Okay.
barely any sermon. It's just all music. And I'm like, oh, like you could feel the energy in the place, right? Like there was something going on there. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just so many people gathering and creating this energy, or if there really was deity in this place. I don't know. But like, I was all in. I was going like every night sometimes. And it was just such a different experience. And I thought, like there's more freedom here. Maybe this is where I can be with God. Nope. Still, like everybody's like laughing in the spirit. That never happened to me. And I'm just feeling again like I don't belong. There's something wrong with me. Right. So I left all of that I was just like, you know what? I'm just done with religion for now.
Mhm.
And I went back to adult reentry because obviously living on the street, you don't get all your education in at the proper time.
Oh, adult reentry is into education.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to drop out of high school and take care of myself. So then I just tried to concentrate on my education, went back to adult reentry. I was talking online to someone for like 10 months. And then I decided to go to Belfast to meet him. And I know it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a crazy thing to do. But ultimately we got on like a house on fire, and I stayed for 8 years, and I went to Queens.
Wow.
Got my psychology degree. But the plan had always been to come back here. And then he didn't want to come back. So I came back on my own, and my mom died. Like
Your adoptive mother or your birth mother?
my adoptive mother died like 3 months after I came home. So it was like a super confusing time.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in the hospital room, and there was another daughter with a mother also dying in her semi-private room. And this is where I found Buddhism. I was freaking out. I was just not handling anything. Like, I'm going through separation, divorce, my mom dying, culture shock, like, because Toronto was very different, became very different in that sort of almost decade that I was gone.
Okay.
And this woman is just sitting there and radiating peace and meditating in front of her mother's bed. And I'm like, I need some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was powerful. Friends of mine in California let me come and stay with them for 6 months because I was working at a homeless shelter for youth.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously important to me, but that pressure on top of everything else was just too much. And so I went down there and I studied Buddhism and meditated, and I quit smoking, and it was a really positive experience for me. And so when I came back, I was in a much better place. And then shortly after that, I decided to go back to school and do my postgrad in art therapy.
Okay.
Because I had remembered all what had gotten me through such tough times had been art, my sketchbooks and my writing, and all of that really had bolstered me. So I wanted to give that to other people. And a lot of art therapy, like what I was doing, I was mixing like the meditation with it and the Qigong, because I'm a Qigong teacher, first level, not a master. And as I was weaving the expressive arts with that, it was a ritual. I was creating rituals, and I was like drawing back onto those things that helped me when I was a kid. Like being closer in touch with nature and following moon energies, and like I was coming back to I feel like I was coming back full circle to the person that I was meant to be. And that my mom's death, like, because she adopted me basically only a year older than I am now. So we were all of my family was gone. She was like the last one.
Okay.
And so I felt like that was freeing in a way for me. Like I could come back to being the person that I wanted to be and that I needed to be. And so, yeah, I just started exploring and reading, and I thought, I thought Druidry and perhaps the Green Witch path were the closest, but really the fact that there was arts were so prized within Druidry was a really big pull for me. I was like, wow, this is great. So I started, doing those things that made me happy when I was young. And I was reading like Penny Billington's book, and that was her suggestion to take a walk in the same place for a year was just amazing, and Philip Carr-Gomm's book on his journey, the Druid's Way, I think it's called. It's just one of the most beautiful books that I have read. It just draws you in with this poetry, and you can feel the landscape and sort of walk with them. And so I was like, yeah, this is great. And so I didn't join OBOD. I was just sort of practicing on my own. And then I wanted to test the waters, dip my toes into the waters of the pagan community in Toronto and see what it was like. So I started, there was an open grove that was meeting in a Unitarian church, in the basement of a Unitarian church, called Our Pagan Grove. And so I started going there. And they are a very generous, beautiful group that just invite people to, come and do their own, right? Like run your own sort of ritual. And so I did for Imalk, and I did it Druidry style. And I also did it like half sort of expressive arts therapy that I would do. And we designed planters, and then we planted seeds, and just it was beautiful. And then the pandemic happened, and everything was shut down, and yeah, it was difficult, feeling separated from nature, feeling separated from people who I thought would have become friends. And that's when I decided to join OBOD. And it was just such an amazing experience for me. I probably wouldn't have rushed through the Bardic quite so fast, except it seemed to be the only thing to do.
You mean, during the whole thing, yes.
Yeah. So I wish I hadn't gone through it quite so fast, and I think about actually revisiting it sometime.
And a number of my guests, or actually quite a lot, talk about how they have revisited a few times, and discovering something new each time. That it took me 7 years to do mine. I certainly wasn't rushing. But everything has its own time and its own pattern. You're an expressive artist, yes?
I call myself an expressive arts and wellness counselor because I mix Qigong with expressive arts and meditation, and I'm a meditation teacher on the Insight Timer. So I just kind of write workshops. Yeah.
I work with expressive artists who trained in Switzerland, and I've been to a few of their symposia. And I was just working with a group from New York here in Ireland, just on we did a Conoctanari, a spring equinox ceremony with them. So it's just interesting to me. I'm not an expressive artist, but I've participated and worked with expressive artists, but I'm not actually one. But I'm always fascinated at how applicable it is, and looking at all these different media and ways of expressing somebody or oneself in a very therapeutic way. It's just beautiful, and it fits in very well in with Druidry. So this group of people, a different group, come every year, and pre-COVID it used to come here to my house here, and this time I went to wherever they were. But it's always fascinating to have that nature connect, and expressive arts. Ben says, I'm noticing, because he's a therapist as well, a big shift since the pandemic and clients wanting to explore somatic and expression over traditional psychotherapy. Yeah. And Ferdy, it says, it took me 7 years in my Bardic grade, but you can dip in and out of the things you want to experience anytime you want. Absolutely. You don't go to a yoga class or meditation class and think, I've been to a class, I don't need to do that again. All those works aren't going anywhere. And it's like the turning of the year, they'll be different each time. Absolutely. And Robert says, I've just ordered the intro pack. I'm very excited for it to arrive. I remember when I clicked send for the intro pack, and that wonderful feeling inside, knowing that was the right thing to do. And then I got it, and then I thought, I'm signing up, and then looking forward every month to getting the brown envelope, because it was it was in real in those days, not online. So I just loved that whole process. So you're an artist, and I know I've got lots of slides here, and I'm wondering, I'm dying to show them. So, where do you get your imas, or your amun? Where does that come from?
For me, I worship the mother, and I feel like she's just all around me. And before I do, like, you hear a lot about artists experiencing those feasts and famines.
Yep.
This was a really big shift for me from joining OBOD in my personal life. Is like, I write every day. Like I make time to write every day. And sometimes I would like sit there staring at the cursor, blinking and be frustrated, but I would still sit there, right? Now I chant the Awen, and sometimes I go through both, saying it both ways, like starting with the Awen and then going Imas and then chanting a Yoho sometimes. And I feel like a mantle sort of settle on me, and I feel a little tranced out. And then it just flows. But before it was like kind of manic, like sometimes I would be sitting there staring at the cursor, nothing coming. And then I would have to go out the door, jump on my bike or on the bus to get somewhere. And then all of a sudden it would be like, like, and I would be like texting myself on my phone or writing, scribbling on napkins or whatever. And this balanced me. I don't have those feasts or famines anymore. Like now I chant, I light a candle, I chant, I sit down, it flows. And then I get up, I say thank you. And then I move on to whatever I'm doing. And so, yeah, that was a really big shift for me.
Wonderful. And I suppose that, chanting, it just gets you centered, grounded. And in a sense, it's opening a door to the inspiration to come. That's wonderful. So, can I show something?
Yeah, absolutely. You go for it.
So, where would you like to start?
Well, we were just, I don't know, where have you like, I guess the trees or.
Okay, we'll do the trees. All right. So.
Yeah. So this is a project that I started in the bardigrade.
Wow.
And I only recently just finished because it does actually take a lot of time to build up the texture in these pieces.
What medium are you using?
So it's canvas, and then I've put model magic on it, and then put it on with modeling paste, and then painting it, and then adding leaves. Like the leaves on the trees are real leaves that I pressed in books.
These are the gold leaves or the pink or the flower?
I have since painted them, but they are real.
Oh, okay.
They're off of ones are off of my cherry tree in the back.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is quite time consuming. So, yeah, if you move on to the next one, the summer.
Okay.
And those are like real oak leaves from the walk that I do where my guardian tree is. I couldn't actually get his because it's like so high up in the air. But yeah, I grabbed them off of a smaller one.
That's beautiful. I'm struck with just looking at this. So it's in full leaf, and then to the right you have a branch with no leaves. What's that about, or what's that saying?
Sorry, which one?
The summer one. You see, you've got the oak leaves. You've got the tree on the left, and on the right, you have a branch that doesn't have leaves.
Well, it's hard to see, I guess, in this light, but there's painted green in the background, so it's supposed to like look like it's just fully in leaf. Oh,
do you mean with the bit to the right?
Do you mean the two at the bottom that look like they're not attached?
No, the bit at the right, the top right. You see, you've got your reddy brown trunk and branches, and the background, but just to the right of the you've got a branch that doesn't have leaves.
It wasn't on purpose.
Interesting, just fascinating, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So that's that one. So you've got another one to do. I'll come back here and let's get that, and then we'll do the next one, which is okay. So this is autumn.
Mm-hmm. That's the first one that I started with.
Beautiful, and of course, real maple leaves.
Yeah, the leaves are from my sugar maple.
Beautiful.
The front. This is the one I started with because we were sort of going into that time. So each piece I did in that season.
Oh, lovely.
And so it just felt like really connected. If you go to the next slide, it's also of the autumn one, but you can appreciate that it wraps all the way around the canvas.
Oh, wow.
Right. Okay. So whatever angle you're looking at it from, you can still see like it looks 3D. So wow. It's they're all hung like in this room. So it was like I was making the seasonal grove around me. So it's constantly around me.
Wow. Oh, fascinating. Absolutely.
And so the last one I just just finished.
That was beautiful too.
Yeah, I just finished it. There's no leaves, obviously, in this one because
And I know they're genuine snowflakes that you managed to capture.
no, this one I managed to make a little special. In Jonathan and I went to Japan 6 years ago for our honeymoon, and there was a temple that we really fell in love with in Kyoto, and we call it our temple, although I mean some people would argue with us. But I got like a little incense burner from there, and they wrapped it in this lovely paper. And so I sat and I hole punched all those from that. And so you have the little paper snowflakes.
Oh, beautiful. Excuse me for sneezing. Must be looking at the winter shows, giving me. That is beautiful, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Wow.
So yeah, I feel like I've created a grove in my room.
Excuse me for sneezing. Sorry.
Bless you.
It's beautiful, beautiful. So what else would you like to show?
Why don't we do the photography, the narrative self-portrait project, and then
excuse me, sorry about that. It's I don't know how loud that sounds. Apologies, everybody. So I'll go to the narrative self one. That's it.
Mm-hmm. So this will give you an idea of sort of what I do.
Okay.
I do projects and I write workshops and the like. But this was the project that I finished my art therapy diploma with. And because photography had helped me really do a lot of healing from the trauma in my life, there was something about having the camera up to my face and looking through its lens allowed me to not keep looking at the world through the lens of trauma. And
so literally you were looking at it through a different lens.
I was literally looking at the world through a different lens.
Really powerful.
It really was. And so I was like halfway through doing my thesis for this, and I just threw all that work away because I was like, you know what? It feels more important to do the major project because you had a choice. Mm-hmm. And so I threw all that work away, and I was like, no, this is important. I need to do this, and I think I can help other people see through a different lens and help them through their trauma. And so that's what I did. So I was working at Sherburne Health. It's a hospital downtown, and they do a lot of outreach. So I was at the Women in Needs clinic, and I was doing like art therapy with them before while they were grabbing their breakfast and waiting for their doctor's appointments and stuff.
Okay.
So I was also, so I invited women to do this project with me by first doing, I brought like 3 pictures that I had done of my own story. So if you look at the first one.
That one?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I ended up taking these photos to the Contact Festival, not of my own volition, but because my best friend at the time decided that this was a worthy project and entered it. And so they thought so too and invited me to come, but I got ripped a new one by the experts there.
You got what?
I got ripped a new one by the experts there. They didn't really understand my project.
Okay.
But I'll explain that further down the road.
Okay. So I go to the next one?
Yeah, and so eventually, like this is the whole project that you can see. Eventually it hung at Sistering. I guess my friend was hoping that maybe through the Contact Festival that they would like it and they would give it a bigger audience, I guess. But that didn't happen. But anyways, that was it hanging there. And my apologies, I forgot the very colorful one there in this slideshow for some reason.
Okay.
So yeah, if you go on to Yeah. So this I specifically did as an example to show how they could use, place, objects, poses to tell a story that they wanted to tell. So this was my favorite park at the time when I lived on the east side of the city. And obviously my camera was extremely important to me. And Qigong, this pose is called swallow flying through the clouds. And that's kind of what I felt like I was doing in life, barreling on through those clouds. So yeah, I did this as an example.
That's not you, though.
Sorry?
Is that you?
Yeah, that's me. I did. My friend David.
Okay. Okay.
Scott took it.
Wow.
And so yeah, that was just an example of how they could tell a story. And so the next one.
I think I have to. There is no next one. I have to
go this. Next one.
The next. It's the second one. Okay.
So yeah, some people might find this photo offensive, I'm sure. It's not an easy one for me to look at either. That's my mom's grave.
Okay.
And, my friend took it with the fisheye, my fisheye lens, to give it weight and gravity, like I'm a giant over top of it. And so I wanted to show these women that you can go anywhere, right? Like, I'm not going to flinch. You can tell whatever story that you want to tell, because it's in these moments that you have that you have those breakthroughs, and it was a way of letting that trauma go. But I also wanted to let them know that they could tell any story they wanted to.
Wow, it's very powerful. Wow. Despite you, not because of you. Wonderful.
So the next one, I was Jack Kornfield, a Buddhist monk and psychologist, tells this story about a large clay Buddha in Southeast Asia, and how they would repair it all the time, putting new clay on top. And I think there was an earthquake or something happened, and there was big cracks in the clay, and then they saw gold underneath. And so the original people that had covered it up to save it, probably from getting looted and the gold peeled off. But he uses this as a story of how clay can cover over our basic goodness, and that all our traumas and stuff can cover over that. And so that's the way that I think of myself. Sometimes people see that gold, sometimes people see that clay, and it's just, it's a process of trying to shed that clay, right?
Beautiful. Wow. It's funny, because I had seen these, because obviously you sent them to me, and I thought very, very interesting. But as you explain, what they're actually saying, it's incredibly powerful. And even just looking now, the gold, because when I saw it first, I thought, oh, it's the light shining, but it's the gold and the clay on the one individual. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Wow.
So I used those three to recruit people, to do recruiting. And all of them were accompanied with the narrative.
Yeah.
It would have been a little hard to put it all on the slides there, but so actually for some reason I missed this one. I have to move backwards.
Okay.
I missed that one in the slides. I don't know. I'm sorry, Sylvia.
There's a bit of a shine on it, so I'm looking at a bird. Yes.
Right. So this was of her in her across the street from Sherburne, a bunch of Indigenous artists had done murals, and this was her favorite one because it reminded her of getting over her addictions and getting free from them. And so as she was like standing, sort of doing this and that in front of the bird, I decided to zoom as I was shooting. And so that gave it the sort of feeling of flight.
Wow.
But she got really excited when I showed her the zoom thing because I wasn't sure before. But yeah, she had struggled with addiction for 30 years. And she was finally free. And so she wanted to share with other women that were struggling with addiction that it's hard, but for them to know that they had the power within them to do it. And yeah, what she said was, if you relapse, don't kick yourself in the ass, just get back up and try again. You can do it. Keep busy. Keeping busy is the best medicine. I hope you can see the rainbow of hope. I know you can be free too.
Yeah.
And so I think that was probably pretty powerful, hanging up at Sistering, which is like an emergency shelter. It's open for 24 hours, but it's like, it doesn't have any beds, but it has food and couches, and, you know, it's somewhere to keep warm out of the cold. So I'm sure that was a pretty powerful message.
Wow. Brilliant.
And so, yeah, the next one, Diana, she is both a trans woman and a chronic depression sufferer.
Okay.
And so this we took at her favorite park where she feeds the squirrels, and like it brings light and hope into her day.
Okay.
And, you know, a lot of what causes her depression is not passing very well. So she wanted other people to know that other women looking at this photo, that not all trans people, just not as all cis people, fit into society's rigid beauty standards. We're all unique beings who bring our own kinds of beauty and love into the world. We're all human. And just one of the most beautiful women that I know.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
And so the next one was a lot of fun to do. Karen has like a real gift with puppets and puppetry, and it's like something that's helped her heal in life.
Okay.
And I took a lot of photos of her that day, and then I just decided to dump that one on her head, and she just started laughing, and I just started shooting, and it was great. It really captures who she is, you know. And bringing all of those puppets out, you know, reminded her of how much joy that they bring her. And so then she started, you know, doing more art in life. And I do believe that when I left my practicum, she took over doing art at Sherburne. So I think that was great.
Wonderful. Brilliant. Lots of comments here. I find, this is Gabrielle, I find therapy through visual art very powerful for both the creator and the receiver. As a receiver of art, it pierces through much more than a text, for example, which also makes it harder to receive. All very nice, very moving narratives and imagery. That laugh is straight from the heart. Lovely photo. And I got inspired by this puppet series. So it's just, and I mean, I've missed, sorry, a lot of comments because I've been looking at the exhibition. A lot of joy in that image. So wonderful comments. What a moving photo series. Beautiful, strong, so deep. So what next? So we're finished that one, aren't we? We're going to the third one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me.
So this is the photo that got me ripped a new one at the Contact Festival. So part of what this project was them directing me, right? Like them being seen the way they want to be seen. So, so Lucia was very sad that she never got the opportunity to go to university. So we shot this at U of T, and it was kind of a crazy day. We had the cops called on us because they said that there were men in the bathroom because her best friend Geraldine came and they were getting ready for their photo shoot together. And so, yeah, that was kind of sad for something to happen like that, like especially at a university. But anyways, ran interference and I explained everything, and then we ended up having a lovely day together. But there was a photo that really showed, I think, Lucy's pain at not being able to go to school. And when she was going through to pick them, it triggered her.
Okay.
So she didn't want to use that one. So she picked this one, and I'm like, "There's a car in it." She's like, "Tell them it's my car." So yeah, so the first person I talked to, like 3 different people at the Contact Festival, but the first person I talked to said if you didn't take such shitty photos, she wouldn't have had shitty photos to choose from. So I almost like left. I just bawled my eyes out. It was awful. But then somehow I managed to pull myself together. My partner came down, who was actually busy that day, but he dropped what he was doing and he came down and he convinced me to stay for the rest of it.
Oh, what a thing to say.
But yeah, like that was part of it. It was like to empower them to be seen the way they want, and they picked the photo, not me. And that, you know, I signed the rights back to them, that they have copyright rights. And because in Canada, if you push the button, it's your photo, right? So I signed it back to them for copyright rights, but that I could use it to talk about my project. So so yeah, it was about empowerment.
Wow.
But yeah, Lucia wanted to say that I hope this picture will make other women living in Canada realize the wonderful opportunities that they have here that women in other countries don't have. And I hope it encourages them to take advantage of these opportunities. Like, she came from Venezuela, and in Venezuela, trans women have to live in caves outside the city limits.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Wow. It's just hard to get my head around that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, I think it's really lovely that they, you know, reached out and shared their stories and to help other people along.
Yeah.
The next one was a real journey. Like Carla Ray now was going by Chris when I met her. Like, was living most of the time presenting as male because in this alley, they lost 80% of their vision and only has like 20% vision in one eye because they got beat up for being trans. And so she wanted to go back to this alley with me, dressed up, feeling good about herself, and, you know, just saying, really, you think I'm garbage, you know, because the people that beat her up were garbage, you know, like, so yeah, what she wanted, she said, I'm defiant and unafraid. Those people who tried to hurt me cannot hurt me anymore. They have no influence over my life. What I hope to share with other women looking at this photo is that as bad as it can get, it gets better.
Okay.
And so then she was able to change her name and live the way she wanted to after doing this photography project, which I just thought was so amazing. I just thought was so amazing.
I mean, it never ceased to amaze me how powerful art can be, or the arts, however they're expressed, to take people through and push through the ravages of trauma and story to come out the other end and be able to like stand there in a place where there's been huge violence done to her, and to have 20% of vision as a result, and to stand there very, very powerfully. It just blows me away.
Yeah, I mean that's why like I was so attracted to OBOD, because it's like, wow, here is where art is valued,
Mm-hmm.
So often in society, art isn't valued. Like it's the first program cut when you need to save money. And,
Yeah.
And it's just so powerful. Sometimes I think about wouldn't it be great to do this project with a pagan group, because pagans are always like, they're not seen in a very nice light sometimes, like at best you're seen as eccentric, and at worst you're seen as a devil worshiper, and that's, eccentric, I'll take that and high five you, but devil worshiper I'm not,
Yeah. Well, there's another thing for you now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's just a couple left.
Okay.
Yes. So this one, Janet, was she'd been using crack for a long time, and she's like now free from addiction. She struggled with PTSD, and that's how she was using self-medicating to deal with it. And one day she woke up and 2 people in her apartment building had died from drug overdose overnight. And so she was like, this could be me. Or like, what do you want to do with it? You want to keep doing this, keep on down this road? And so she decided not to. And she started, as she like let the drugs go, she started seeing her real self emerge. And so this is why this one's called Blossoming, and her coming out of her shell. She actually wanted to use another one. My friend David Scott was helping me with this one. Mm-hmm. At one point where we were trying to do it, she wanted to do it on a white wall. And it's notoriously hard to do this kind of photo on a white wall, but we were trying anyways. And so I was showing her the 4 positions that I wanted her to stand against the wall so that she would be clearly seen in each one. Mm-hmm. And so I'm up against the wall with my hands up, like the cops are frisking me. And she's up against the wall like that too. And she was like, you have to print me that picture. And she like shows people, and she's like, this day the cops were, and she's made this whole story. It was quite funny.
Brilliant. And it's interesting here with the woodland background is that she's here, she's not. It's that it's her face that shows. I mean, she's obviously wearing black clothes until you see the last one with a bit of white, but it's her face that's so strong, and her hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that one. But what she wanted to share was with people looking at this picture that nothing will change unless you change it. It doesn't matter how many people help you. You won't change unless you want to.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we move to Eve Marie. And this was a comment that her mom used to say all the time, because her mom was smart and would get put down for it. And she didn't want women to internalize that, that in which she says, women get dissed by men when they do anything clever, and even women themselves often internalize these values and diss themselves unnecessarily. What I would like to share with other women looking at this picture is it's okay to be right and bright, so please don't feel guilty about it.
To be right and bright. Lovely.
Mm-hmm. And so the next one is Geraldine.
Okay, I'm back. I'm taking that one away.
Mm-hmm.
So now that was 2. So I'm sorry about this.
No worries.
I'm on 4 now, am I? Yeah. Now to 4. The Golden Girl?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. This is Geraldine, Lucia's best friend, who came to U of T with us that day. And she just wanted to be shown as the beautiful queen of the castle that, you know, she knows that she is, but like people don't look at her that way.
Yeah, yeah.
And don't see her for the beautiful woman that she is. And so she wanted other women looking at this picture to be strong and courageous in every circumstance, no matter what obstacle life puts in their path. And so there's just 2 more. This is Cece. This one's quite a sad one. Her soulmate, as she refers to her, Bella, used to paint, and she committed suicide a few months before I met Cece. And so Cece was trying to, didn't feel like she was good at art, but was trying to connect with her partner through art. And so this was so interesting. Like, I sat there for a long time shooting as she was trying to repaint one of Bella's pictures and was getting increasingly frustrated with doing it because she wasn't able to match like its art level. And I mean, when you've had no art training, like, I think that's an unfair expectation, right? And then there's this wonderful moment where the energy in the room felt so heavy, and I thought she was going to break, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And then there was just this wonderful moment where she just went through it with a lot of color splashing everywhere and just made this wonderful abstract piece. And she felt so good. Like, it was just such a beautiful moment. And I feel so privileged that I was there for that. Yeah, so what she wanted to say was, this photo for me was finding Zen. So the message is this: all life's experiences are neither good or bad. They're neutral. The only thing that changes is your perspective.
Yeah. It's interesting, just the black and white photograph, she's in shadow, and then you see that pink emerging from the gray canvas. It's just beautiful. Yeah. Yeah,
that was one of those moments that I'll never forget.
Wonderful. So for you, just striking me, it's not just, we're looking at the finished product and you're still in the process. I mean, remembering the process and talking about, I won't forget that day, or that was a fun day, or this was really powerful, or that, which lends more to this as an exhibition. You actually describing the process as you're showing it, because most people at an exhibition don't know that. They don't see that.
Yeah, they don't get those moments.
That's very rich. Will I go to the next one?
Sure. This is the last one. So this is Shayla, and this was not an easy story either. She was in the Marines in Ecuador, and presenting as male, because I think it's illegal to be trans there. I don't know if it still is, but it certainly was at the time. Her brothers outed her, and so then she lost her job. And it was, something that she really, really loved. And so she says she wandered the world for 27 years, trying to find a country where I would not experience discrimination and violence. But I've yet to find that country now that she lives in Canada. But she literally walked on foot from Ecuador to Toronto.
My goodness, walked. Wow.
Yeah, walked out of there, and then applied for refugee status. I don't know if she got it. I hope she did.
So she's a U.S. citizen, not an Ecuadorian.
No. She's from Ecuador, and she walked all the way through.
She was in the Marines.
Yes.
In the U.S. Marines or the Ecuadorian Marines?
In Ecuador.
Okay.
Right, but her brothers outed her.
Her blood brothers, her actual brothers.
Yeah. Oh, and her father tried to kill her, and so she, there's apparently quite a few people that from South America that make that trek up to Canada and then try to apply for asylum. I just saw a story the other day. It's a very difficult journey, and if you get caught at any point, they will send you back.
Yeah.
So it's. I'm guessing the military training probably helped her.
I bet you get there by stealth.
Yeah.
Cunning. Yeah.
Probably helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
But so she wanted to show like her military background, and so there's this retired ship that used to be at Ontario Place, but now it's in Hamilton. So we took a girls' road trip up to Hamilton with Lucia and Geraldine as well.
Okay.
And we just had a right fun time taking pictures and getting dressed up. We got a little worried when we saw some Hell's Angels circling about.
Oh dear. Okay. Yeah.
But it all ended up okay.
Great. Wow. So that is just really, really powerful. So there's one more thing to show, but just saying, indeed, such bravery, it takes a lot to be oneself in this world. Philippa says each story that goes with the pictures are very powerful. Ben says Canada has a third country agreement that anyone can walk through the states to get there to claim status if they're not caught in the US first. Wow. Wow. And David Jones says this image with the marine theme is very symbolic of the project. It seems these themes deal with the energies of the second chakra, water element, early childhood development, trauma, addiction, orientation. I see there should be a disclaimer for the empaths watching this later that there's a lot of sadness. We cannot avoid sadness and grief. And I had no idea there was going to be what we were going to be discussing. But I think that's life. We cannot always give warnings about what's going to come up. So it's... yeah. Timmy says, what is wrong with people on this planet? Although the numbers tell us that we live in the 21st century, it seems as if people are equally brutal and violent as during the Middle Ages. Maybe Spirit is actually working in a special way in communities like this one, especially for that reason, for us to be able to cope with all this. Yeah. And then Sumaran says, that's Cece, channeling Arwen in her own way, perhaps. That was, she was the one with the painting, yeah. Yeah, just beautiful. So thank you for doing all of this. This is really allowing people. Nimi says, so sad that we can't all be allowed to be as we need to be. Tolerance and violence a reflection. Is tolerance and violence a reflection of the aggressor's own insecurity and fear in the face of others' empowerment? I would think so. I think most times we fear people who are different, or people that we don't understand, who appear different. Yeah. Alison says, these pictures are such a beautiful honouring of these people, such courage. I'm bowled over. And Tabitha says, thank you for giving these women a voice and their power back. Wonderful. James says, pictures are powerful, but I love the stories. So absolutely incredible. Thank you. So, yeah.
Thank you for letting me show them.
So will we go to the moon garden?
Sure.
Here, just. So explain this.
So I live in a tiny postage stamp sort of house. It's a 2-bedroom converted into a 1-bedroom so that I can have office space.
Oh, okay.
And we have a tiny little yard that we love. You can show it if you like.
Okay. That's lovely.
I used to do landscaping, and so I re-landscaped it because we got married in our backyard. So I took the summer before after I finished my art therapy, and I got it ready for us to have our wedding out back. And since joining OBOD, this garden has taken even more transformations, because I wanted to add like all the elements in it. I wanted it to be a place that we could do ritual in as well. And the moon is like just always been so important to me. I've worked with the energies of the moon since I was really little. And so, yeah, this, the course over the Bardic and the Ovate grade, little additions have always been done. So if you wanted to show the next
slide. Is that building, that's your house? Or is that your house? Are you standing in the house?
That's our garage.
That's
We've got like a separate garage.
Okay, very good. Lovely. Oh, it's your Acer. That's beautiful.
Sorry?
I'm looking at your maple, your Acer. It's lovely.
Yeah, the Japanese maple and the cherry tree beside her looks really beautiful in the spring when just a shower of cascade of pink and white blossoms.
And is this a water feature? This
Yeah, this is our second water feature. The first one was a Buddha one, but it broke. So we bought this one last year. And it looks really beautiful at night because it has lights.
Oh, beautiful.
Coming down so you can see the water.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And so all the, there's a lot of stonework you could see around the bottom.
Yeah.
Like light stone, which picks up the moonlight. And the white flowers picks up the moonlight.
Okay. Are they petunias?
There's petunias and there's Elysium.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Lovely.
Mm-hmm. So if you want to go to the next one, yeah. So we made a Zen garden.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
So that also picks up the moonlight, not the stones in between the flowers. But yeah,
How do you keep it clean?
I have to get down on my hands and knees and pull debris out all the time.
And are you doing this every day or every few days?
I'm not that anal.
Oh, okay. Anyway, obviously you did it for the photo. Nice.
Yeah, I did it for the photo.
That's lovely.
It doesn't get as bad as you think it would.
Oh well, God, I have loads of trees, so I'm always.
Well, you know what? It probably would have been worse. There was a beautiful pine tree on the other side of that fence.
Okay.
when we did get married, and we hung lanterns in it, and it was a beautiful tree, but our neighbor doesn't like trees and cut it down.
Oh, okay.
Because she doesn't like sap. So apparently sap was dripping on stuff.
Oh dear.
She cut down a big, beautiful walnut tree as well that was behind it that I think was 200 years old, because she didn't like the walnuts dropping down.
The mind boggles. The
Yeah.
mind boggles.
Yeah, we cried very much that day.
I bet you did. Nimi says, I love a moon garden. Do you have night scented flowers?
I do not. If you have any suggestions that would grow in Canada very well, then I would take them.
Oh, we get tobacco plants, Nicotiana. I think they're night scented.
I tried to grow some in pots on the back deck, and they never flowered for me. So maybe I was doing something wrong there.
Okay. Actually, and Gabrielle wanted, do you have a website, or where can she see your art again?
I do not have a website for my art. I just have a website for Plum Blossom Mindful Arts. But like not for my actual art. It's for like the workshops that I write.
Okay. Jasmine. Tracy says, Nicotiana is awesome for moon gardens, so fragrant and toxic. Jasmine. Narcissus flowers, they're night scented. Not in Ireland, they're not. Okay, of course, there's probably different narcissus. You could try those. And then Ben says Toronto can be weird to grow things. To be honest, there's so many microclimates across the city. Roses, don't know if peonies. I don't think they do. But I think you can get a night scented jasmine, and some viburnum are night scented. And Iris says, I dream of having a moon garden one day. That's beautiful. So feels like the ferals are at work near that water feature. What a blessed space. Such beautiful work. So much bravery in the participants, and in you as the artist sharing this with us all. Thank you for sharing it. The stories may be sad, but there is an underlying theme of hope. And then Liz says, you're giving me so many ideas for my own yard. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. So actually, there's a second moon. We've got another moon garden, don't we? We do. Moon garden too. Let me remove that one and put this one up. You can see that Olivia is very, very busy, very, very productive.
So yeah, this little patch, nothing would grow on for some reason.
Except stones. Wonderful.
So yeah, we decided, I was like, I gave up at one point. I was like, you know what? Let's do standing stones. And brilliant. So they're very happy there.
I love the, you've got your pillars, your 3 standing stones, and that kind of biscuit colored stone. And then at the base, is it slate? It's gray. There's a kind of a pinky purple hue in it. What stones are they?
I'm not sure what they're called. They're just called river rock.
Lovely. I mean, because all your stones are different colored. I mean, if you look at the ones with the alsam that's around them, they're lighter. Fascinating. All the color within the stones. Mm-hmm. And then you have 2 rosettes on those river rocks. What are they?
They're solar lights.
Okay.
So yeah, so at night it looks nice, because the standing stones get lit up.
Oh, brilliant!
But obviously, if there's a full moon, it can just like flip the solar lights over. They also have off switches on the back.
Okay. I just realized that's the 3rd slide. We did it, and we're going backwards, and then there's air. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Those are feathers. Tied with strings that I had the moon bless on different cycles for different intentions. And so when I'm feeling like particularly lost, or like I want help, or I'll tie one up, and as I'm doing the knots, I'm like putting in the intention for wet prayer, and I hope that it carries to whatever deity can give me a hand.
That's beautiful.
I think I've gotten help with each one.
Wow. And even as a photograph, I'm just looking at the colors you have. You've got the the orange in the foreground and the russet, and then you have on the fence you've got that pale green, yellow. You've got blues, and I assume that's just natural lichen or something growing on the fence. It's not paint, is it?
No, it's just an old fence, and
Lovely. It's brilliant the way the light has caught it. Yeah, and then the shadows that the branches make on the fence. It's just beautiful, beautiful. And then fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have the fire pit in the center. You probably saw it in the first.
I saw that, yes, yeah.
We built the stones on it are in a yin yang symbol, which is really important to us. It's just been an important symbol for me and Jonathan because we're like exactly the halfway mark of the year. Like his birthday is March 9th and mine is September 9th. And so we got married September 24th. Not too far from that, exactly equal.
Yeah.
So yeah, we built the fire pit on top of a yin yang symbol.
Wow.
But yeah, we wanted to have like all the elements in the yard.
That's beautiful. There are some more suggestions for your garden. Tracy says gardenia is the most fragrant flower next to hyacinth and lilac. And so hyacinth and lilac, certainly during the day, maybe at night. And then patchouli, I don't know if that grows in Canada. It certainly doesn't grow in Ireland. Mugwort, very powerfully lunar, I agree. Mugwort doesn't have, particularly scented flower. Gabriella, September 9th too. Okay, Nini says, I'd love to grow patchouli. I think it's not frost hardy, though. I suppose you could have it in a pot and then bring it in for the winter. It certainly wouldn't grow here. Nimi says, I have bird feeders in the east for air. So I imagine a number. We have Sumiran says, I have a suggestion for herbs and flowers for your moon garden, perhaps visiting a nearby nursery and speaking to the gardeners there can give you a trusty list of what can grow in Toronto. I think it's Eva or Ava. Much love from this gardenless plant lover in Mexico. Okay. So very creative. Would mock orange, Philadelphia, mock orange grows. I have mock orange in my garden and only flowers for a short while. Now, whether it has a scent at night, I don't know. Wonderful. So Gabrielle says, oh my God, I have Googled moon gardens and they are so enchanting. I feel I lived under a rock. Livia is extremely productive. She absolutely is. Yeah. So, so somebody asked, what's the name of the flower that only opens at night? And if it feels like it, some water flower, couldn't tell you. Yeah. Just wonderful. Yeah, well, again, they're suggesting you're getting a lot of suggestions for jasmine. Honeysuckle will grow almost anywhere and hardy, and the evening scent is divine. That is true. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, it'll certainly grow here because it's often difficult we have a short growing season. But and actually, Ben, you find it on the Facebook. You are on Facebook, are you? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's on the OBOT Facebook. Ben gives a link of what grows in Toronto. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
yes,
everyone.
Great. Carmen says, I'm lost for words. The concepts and photos are amazing, Livia. Yeah. Night scented stock. Yes, Philippa. I mean, the name is in the name. So what it does is in the name. Yeah. So, when has Druidry supported you?
It's just been so important during the pandemic and the war. in Ukraine. My husband is Ukrainian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his grandfather came over to Canada he was fleeing the KGB. So it's been like so important at this time, like going and talking to my guardian tree. Like I remember that I had one day where I was just like, that's it. I can't take anymore. I was like looking up to see if I could like immigrate to New Zealand if I had like enough points, because they're in a point system like Canada is.
Oh, okay.
And, I was like just sitting there with my guardian tree, and I mean, I felt conflicted because I'm like, I don't want to leave my guardian tree, like
Yeah.
exactly put him in a pot, right? Like he's, hundreds of years old. And I just heard like wisdom from him. He was like, are you going to move every time that there's an election? I started laughing, right? Because I mean, that's also been difficult here, having like a conservative government that doesn't care about trees, that's got their hands on the green belt, they've just been making colossally horrific choices. They're talking about cutting down 400 or 500 trees along the waterfront to make room for an 8-story water park, right? Like I was just really been fed up. But yeah, to hear those words, are you going to move every time there's an election? And I'm like, it just, so it's been a real comfort to my soul to be able to talk to the trees and to connect with the elements. Like air has been a really powerful one for me, to really cut through that, to really cut through and to be able to see the whole picture, to be like an eagle. Let's look at this from the top down. Let's look at the whole picture. And the deep listening circle, which I've been volunteering at for OBOD for over a year now, has been a real support to me in my life. Like I know I'm volunteering, but like people are listening to me too, right? Like we're listening deeply to each other. And that's everything. Knowing that there's other people that are like-minded out there that are caring about these same things, that are also feeling overwhelmed, and like that has just been such a deep connection to me. And I feel like it's like family, It's
interesting because you contribute such a lot. You contribute so much to that listening circle as well, with your meditations, that I suppose it strikes me, to go and sit in that circle and be heard and listen. And then also knowing that you're contributing so much, that because it gives you meaning, doesn't it? It's part of being service, that you can contribute so much to others, as well as receiving from for yourself. I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
And it's very much appreciated, by the way.
Well, it has really, really been wonderful working with you and with Harriet and Bricky, and it's just
yeah.
And just hearing everybody's stories from around the world, and it's been so beautiful.
What has been your greatest achievement? Because I mean, you seem to have achieved so much. The thing you're most proud of?
Quitting smoking, I think.
Oh, well done.
I wish it was something loftier than that, but seriously, like I was smoking like 2 packs a day at one point, and I thought,
2 packs a day.
Yeah.
40. Okay, you were.
No, 50, because we get 25 packs here.
Oh, 25. Oh, really? Okay. We are. It's 20. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, that's 20 is a small pack here.
Oh, 10 is the small pack.
Oh Lord. No, I was in deep, deep trouble. So
Wow.
yeah,
So how did you, I'm always fascinated when, people have something like that. I mean, nicotine is just so addictive. And I remember learning as a psychologist, it's very easy to give up smoking. You can give it up many times.
yeah.
It's the staying off. What was it that helped you do it? How did you do it?
I tried everything under the sun, and I honestly quit longer on planes or sleeping. I eventually someone suggested Alan Carr's book.
Yep.
And yeah, so it was psychology, right? It was that mindset, changing your perspective to that it is not hard, that this is going to be great. And I remember, like, when I was in California, I threw the pack out and I threw out my lighter, and I was actually having really, really terrible sciatica at the time. And so there was no flipping way that I could have walked to the store, even if I wanted to buy a pack.
Thank you for your sciatica. Okay. Yeah.
So I threw it out. I went back upstairs and I curled up in a ball on the end of the bed. And I was like, okay, I'm going to wait for this to get bad, or something like negative like that. And it never did. It never did. It was the best thing I had ever done. And I couldn't believe that I waited so long.
So now you've mentioned psychology. Can you explain to our viewers what was it that Alan Carr said? Because I've had friends who discovered Alan Carr and say, oh my God, just read that and was like a light bulb moment. And that was it. So what was it that he said?
It wasn't like any one specific light bulb thing, but it was just the fact that he was making perfect sense. It was just like, how could I have not seen this before? And that's the thing, is when we go and we do therapy and stuff like that, we're so blinded by whatever issue that we're going through. Like, I remember working with my therapist here and talking about feeling pressured on a holiday, and we had an ice storm and the power went out, and we were supposed to have Christmas dinner here, and like, we did have it here, but then we just had a terrible fight, terrible row. And I remember going into my therapist's office, and he's like, you didn't think that you had any other choices? You just thought your choice was this or this, right? And then he starts like naming all these different choices that I had in between there. And I felt so dumb. and like, this is me after, having 2 degrees, right? Like, we get so blinded by whatever problem that we're having. And it just sometimes takes somebody from the outside to really point out that outsider's view and what they're seeing.
Absolutely. Gabriella says, Eimear, my dad, who's a smoker, would say the readers of the book are very impressionable and that he is much stronger. I love that. My grandfather smoked 60 Sweet Afton, and they had no filter, and his fingers were black.
Oh, Lord.
And he used to say, nuns get cancer and they don't smoke. And my mother was telling me recently, he said she was giving out to him because he was smoking, and near the end of his life, he said, I'm not going to rust out, I'm going to live it out. But he died. He lived till he was 79. But David says, congrats on quitting cigarettes. Nicotine-based pesticides are thought to be instrumental in killing bees, and yet when garden tobacco plants bloom in the later summer, honeybees get a lot of pollen and nectar from 2 different things. Yeah. I quit nicotine with the help of vaping. Yeah. And then Ben says, it took my dad having a minor stroke to stop smoking. It was weird. The stroke deleted the addiction. Wow. Okay. So it's if you can give it up, I mean, having something like that, being able to read something and have some kind of insight and go, just recalibrate your thinking about the need for whatever it is that your thing is. Congratulations, a big, absolutely. So what's the most reckless thing you've done?
Probably jumping on that plane to Belfast.
So this was an online relationship.
Yeah, like, I mean, this started in 1999, right? Like, we didn't have Zoom. We didn't even have like profile pictures. Like, it was a pretty insane thing to do. I mean, I did talk to him for 10 months, and I didn't stay with him. I got a holiday working visa, and I actually rented out half a house with a professor from Queens. So I was, you know, able to verify that. But still, what a absolute bat crazy shit thing to do. Excuse my language.
Do you regret it?
No, like,
No. And that's the wonderful thing about doing crazy things. And it's like, yeah, and it worked out for as long as it worked out.
What I do regret about living there is that I didn't appreciate it and explore as much as I should have, I think, right? Like, I was just so glad to be like, have some freedom for the first time in my life, that, you know, it was about time, about going to raves and stuff like that. I actually wish that I had run into like OBOD sooner.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Instead of, you know, because all these places that, you know, all these sacred places that I'm reading about now, I'm like,
that's right. I'm close to Belfast. Yes.
The only sacred place to me back then was Shine, the club in the Students' Union.
Well, you see, I mean, Gabriella says you were young and post-trauma. I think you did amazing. You know, it's so many things when we're younger and don't avail of it because we're stuck in wherever we need to be. And if raves are what you needed, yeah. So it's. Do you have any regrets? Oh yeah, that's the one regret you have. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even get over to see Stonehenge. I feel like it was a bit of a fail, you know?
Did you go to Newgrange?
No.
Did you see the Giant's Causeway? Because that was kind of up here.
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. So,
that was amazing. That was amazing. That's so funny, eh? This is my church. This is my church. This is where I come to heal my hurts. You know, that faithless song.
Yeah, yes. So what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for so much, you know. I'm grateful to have found community.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my cat Chub Chub, who's right here beside me all the time. I feel very privileged to be in the place that I am and to have come as far as I have, you know, despite having so much trauma in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, do you know the goddess Sedna?
Mm-hmm.
With the missing fingers. I feel like a great kinship with her because like her, her family threw her away and did damage to her, you know, like, and I feel sometimes like I didn't do those, like I don't have my license, right? Like how many young people get their license when they're young, but I didn't have anybody to teach me because basically I was living on my own since I was 13, you know, because when Children's Aid took me from my mom, then I was getting abused in the system. So it was easier to be on the street, right? So like Sedna, I feel there's things that I didn't do at times in my life that other people would have done. So I feel immense gratitude for the fact that despite that, I have actually come really, really far. And some days I forget that. And but when I go through it all, I'm like, well, you know what? You've done so much, right? And that's amazing. And just keep going, just keep plugging, So every day that I open those curtains and the sun's shining, like I have so much gratitude. It's a win,
I mean, you're amazing when you think of all the odds against you. And you speak very softly. You strike me as very, soft-spoken, quiet, and yet the power to push through all of that, and particularly that's coming to mind is the photograph of you on the, with your foot on the headstone. That is incredibly powerful. I'm blown away by it.
I'm glad nobody was in the graveyard that day.
You didn't wake the dead, did you? Yeah. So Philippa says, I have a great deal of admiration for how much you've accomplished. It's amazing. So wonderful. What concerns do you have about the modern world?
What concerns don't I have about the modern world?
One concern.
You know what? If I could fix one thing in this whole mess that I think that would fix so many other problems, I would fix in and out groups. Like that is what I would fix. This ability for people to believe that whatever group they belong to, whether they think it's their sports team or religion or whatever it is, that they think that they're better. And I would fix that if I could. I think that's driving the war in Ukraine. I think that drives racism. I think it drives transphobia. Like I think that if I could fix one thing, that would be it.
Lovely. And what gives you hope, if you have any? I think you do, because you wouldn't be doing what you're doing if you didn't have hope.
Well, some days it's harder to have hope than others, like the last few years have been quite difficult. But I think finally finding like-minded people who are also, like, I'm so impressed by all of you. Every time that I meet people in OBOD, there's so many people doing so many positive things in the world. And that gives me a lot of hope, that there's other people that care. There's other people that are soldiering through, that other people are pioneering projects, and people are, I'm not alone. And that's an enormous sense of hope.
Yeah, and I suppose it's one of the beauties of being a member of the order, having that sense that we're not alone. I mean, there are a lot of decent people out there. It's sometimes when, if you're listening to news, or it depends on what social media platform you're on, you can get overwhelmed and think, my God, is there any nice person around? And yes, there are lots. And often it's the ones that shout the loudest get heard, and there are lots of silent, decent people out there. So we're coming to the end of our time, and it's been really, really enjoyable conversation. And my last question is, what is your favorite season, and what is your favorite festival in the Wheel of the Year?
I think it's Yule. Okay. I don't know that I don't know if I can say winter is my favorite season. I do love it. This one, it was too warm. I wanted more snow. I wanted to go sledding and skating and snowshoeing and all that stuff. But I think fall is probably my favorite season.
Okay.
But Yule, like, I don't know, I get excited and I write short Yule stories. I've been doing, like, for the past, I don't know, 5 years now. And this year I wrote 2.
Oh,
I published them on the Insight Timer. I know it's not really the platform for it, but I just want to be able to share a bit of joy with other people. I like all the lights and the warmth and
yeah.
the coziness.
Wonderful. Yeah, Gabriella likes to bet, and she gets it wrong most times. So she said Imbolc and Midsummer. So so close and so far. Yeah. So anyway. So listen, it has been just such a joy talking to you, Olivia, and I will just let you say goodbye to everybody there before I say goodbye.
Okay. Thank you all so much for giving this chance to waffle. I can't imagine anybody wanting to listen to me waffle for a couple of hours.
Well, there are people here. So I just go on. Sorry.
I just want to thank you all so much for your community and for your love of Mother Earth and all of its inhabitants and all that you do every day to help us be in a more positive place.
Yeah, just Ailish says, thank you so much for sharing your story. You have so much strength and courage. Well, you certainly do. So I'll let you back, and I'll just say goodbye, and then we can look at the comments afterwards. So don't go away. So thank you again for joining us in this conversation. I'm sorry there were so many. I know there was lots of comments, and while we were showing Olivia's artwork, I didn't get to read the comments. So we'll have a look at them. So again, thank you so much, and for joining us this evening. And I look forward to seeing you next week for another Fireside Chat. In the meantime, be well, slán go fóill. And I say good morning, good night, good afternoon, or if you're watching a recording of this. Until we meet again, slán.